And we are live. Yes, this is an impromptu. I'm throwing my stuff together here because I'm just shocked. That's my gut reaction. Gut reaction to the news that Calvin Ridley has been suspended. Hello, I'm Scott Kennedy. You can find me at Scout Kennedy on Twitter. This is our gut reaction. Welcome as you're coming into the chat. Please hit the comments and likes and want to chat a little football. Calvin Ridley has been suspended by the NFL for the 2022 season. According to multiple reports, Tom Pelissero was the first one I saw to have it. Adam Schefter then followed up on it. And I kind of, on another take, I kind of think of the two heavyweights of Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport of NFL News Breaking. But Tom Pelissero is right there as well. He's had some big scoops, especially around the Atlanta Falcons lately. And this one might have been his biggest ever, that Calvin Ridley has been suspended for the 2022 season for gambling on NFL games. And he said after he had taken his mental health break. So he left the team on Halloween. And just before it was Sunday morning before the Panthers game. And you could tell from Arthur Smith, the coach's reaction at the time, he was a little upset. I remember him saying something along the lines like, well, you were here on practice on Friday talking to the reporters in question. Anytime he was asked after the fact, no update. When you know, we'll know. I said November, this guy's done for the season. And he was. And ever since then, I've said he's done as a Falcon. Was I expecting this? No, I was not expecting this. However, to the discussion around, nothing less than a first round pick for this guy. I'm like, I don't see it. I don't see how you're going to finagle a first round pick out of somebody who's taken the year off of football for non-injury reasons. That is a huge, huge red flag. And my other thought on this is just, the mental health card, again, you don't want to speculate and talk down. It's like, this isn't real. It could absolutely be real. A couple of weeks after we see Calvin Ridley leave the Falcons, you've got Everson Griffin up in Minnesota looking like he's about to put a gun in his mouth. I mean, it's scary for sure. So, but it shouldn't be I'm going to block some of the spammers coming here. Apologies. It's not a free pass for asking the questions, and the questions, the Atlanta Falcons, it doesn't necessarily give me the right to question whether Calvin Ridley is healthy or not. But it's certainly not willing to give someone a free pass as an organization. I'm taking a mental health break. So, okay, what are you doing? All of those type of, what are you doing to make this better? Well, evidently, gambling on football games. That's for me doesn't sound like the best way to get better. So let me say hello to some folks coming in. I appreciate you joining me on this impromptu little session we're going to have, because this is about as big a news as you're going to have on an Atlanta Falcons Monday, March 7th. And I know it's March 7th because it is my wife's birthday. So happy birthday. We'll remember this birthday for a long time for sure. But Joe Cannon coming in saying, yo, yo, yo. Except I clicked on Keith because the chat jumped. So I don't recognize Joe's name. So welcome, Joe. Appreciate you coming in. Keith Robbins saying, well, I guess he's done with us. Keith, he's been done with us since the day, and by us, I mean the Atlanta Falcons, since the day he left on the Carolina Panthers. He was done. Done, Gonzalez, Gonzo, goodbye. What are you going to get from him? And then Drake says, is this the true reason for his absence this past season? Now, my immediate reaction, again, this is pure speculation, and why I said you can't just give someone a free pass on this is, what if he's an addict of some sort? One of the reasons my brain immediately travels to that is because I was an addict. I was an alcoholic. I'm coming up on 25 years of sobriety. I've got a pretty good idea how that brain works. I stopped drinking when I was 24 years old. Almost 25 years later, there's still that little voice in your shoulder saying, "Go ahead, it's okay. It's ridiculous. It's insane." So if that's something like that he needed to walk away from. Now, a physical addiction and a gambling addiction, it's all the same. Always that voice trying to justify why it's okay, and you've got to get that straight. You do. I don't know that it was a gambling addiction to begin with that sent him out, but there's something not right when you're, the idle hands. How's that phrase go about idle hands? When he's just sitting around, it's like, I'll make a phone call. I don't know, but what were you doing with your time besides gambling on football games to get better if you needed the help? I think that is a justifiable question right now. And one of the answers is going to be a guy you suspended from the NFL. Now, one of the key words in the statement on Calvin Ridley's suspension was at least the 2022 season. At least the 22 season. Now, we've seen guys get reinstated for what seems like much more harmful things than gambling on a game when I'm not even in the game anymore. I'm out. What's the big deal? Billions of people do it. I get it. But that is one of the holy grails of sports is you don't get involved on your own sport. Ask Pete Rose, who was taken from he's still not in the Hall of Fame, decades after gambling on baseball games. Falling Sloth coming in say, yep, wow. Joe says he's just dumb. There's no other way around it. Bad decisions. The one thing about a bad decision is you make a decision for the wrong reasons, how that always seems to come around to bite you. And, what do you say? While you're away from the team, people are questioning you anyway and gambling. And if you didn't see it, he just posted, at least someone with his phone just posted, this is just going to make me come back, more healthy. And like, dude, no, put the phone away. Someone take the phone away from Calvin Ridley. There isn't really anything he can say right now, except I'm sorry. That is going to come over well. Josh Alstrom, some crazy news. Absolutely. Kevin, welcome being in here. Mark Schrader, welcome. Thanks for the support as always. Shocked to hear the news. I think we're all shocked. What's the gut reaction? Shocked. And Keith says, we all knew he wasn't going to be back regardless. Back with the Falcons. He wasn't going to come back with the Falcons. No way. As soon as they started mentioning the term clean slate, he was gone. My question, and we come back, Nick and I talk about this all the time on Forging the Falcons, is what was his trade value? I was thinking a third rounder, maybe a conditional second, depending on anything that he can meet. And Quincy Lockett says, even though it was a little bit of money, it's still illegal, bro. And that's shake my head, not smack my head. And this one, though, trust me, I want to smack my head. SMH should mean smack my head sometimes, because I want to smack my head too. And it doesn't matter what the money is. And even if it's not illegal, if he walks into Vegas and places a bet on an NFL, that's against the rules of his employer. So it doesn't even have to be illegal. It is forbidden by the people who are paying you millions and millions of dollars. Forbidden. And you can get away with a lot more stuff than this. And again, I come back, Quincy, I come back to the phrase that is sticking out to me. At least the 2022 season. He may never be back. So what are the chances that he does come back? What are we looking at when he's reinstated? Okay, Calvin Ridley, it is now March 7th, 2023. Calvin Ridley's been reinstated. The Falcons still have his fifth-year option. So he's entering his 28-year season. So he'll turn 28 during the season. 2023, he'll be playing on his fifth-year option. Dude, this year's older than the Mormons guys that come back from BYU. He'll be on his fifth-year option, so under contract still, could still toll, and he will be 29 years old with 1 year on his contract. What are you going to get for him? He's never playing for the Falcons again for sure. So they cut him. His guaranteed contract is no longer guaranteed, but they would still have his rights for at least one season. Someone would sign him. Someone would, but it's you want to talk about a bad bet? My God, how much money did he just lose on whatever he bet on, win or lose? I'll take Bama to cover the points against Georgia in the national championship game. Yeah, well, that may have just cost you about $40 million in guaranteed money over the course of your career with your second, maybe final contract, because he won't be 30. If someone picks up his fifth-year option contract, his second contract will be his 30-year-old season for a wide receiver who's not dominant in size. The bigger guys, they don't scare me as much as they get older. The smaller guys who rely on route running and getting open like that, 30 years old, be 30 coming off of this in the season that he's eligible to play again, if he's eligible to play again. And Joe coming in, a question, he says, so the real question is, do we get anything in return if we deal him away? You can't deal him away right now. My question had always been to this point, what could you get? What could you get for him? And I said a third. People are like, you're crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy. I'm like, think like a general manager and the risk. Why would I send a second-round pick to somebody that, send a second-round pick for a guy that I don't even know is going to play again? If, he'd say all the right things, but who has walked out twice before and could walk out at any given time. A conditional makes sense for me now. Okay. We're going to send you a third and we'll bump it to a second if he meets these thresholds. We'll bump it to a first if he hits 1,000 yards. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I got it. But now, again, I just ran through it and I'm a couple minutes behind as I scroll through the chat. Just ran through all the reasons why he won't be worth anything in a trade market to the Falcons. But what he will be worth, what they'll be happy about, is the Falcons will get $11 million back in the cap. That is a good thing. They'll be very happy to have that money back. And $11 million to Terry Fontenot and this team is going to be 3 or 4 players that they can use to fill some holes. Excuse me one moment while I get a drink. Luke MC coming in saying John Mechie's second round is a must now. If not him, maybe George Pickens. George Pickens ran in the 4.4, 6'3", 195, I think. If Christian Watson is there, I'd seriously think about taking him top of the second round. He was 6'4", 205, an 11'4", old Hulk-like. One of my friends, one of the Hulk movies where Hulk was jumping like crazy. I'm like, well, that's comic book. That's how he got around. So that's what Christian Watson was in his green uniform at the combine. So I'm a big fan of Christian Watson. But yeah, the Falcons have needed to come out of this offseason with at least 2 new wide receivers. At least 2. I want at least 1 in the draft and at least 1 in free agency. And that's if you bring back Russell Gage, who was a free agent too. And Jason, yeah, we got into this a little bit. Does this void the Falcons from having to pay a salary? Yeah, you get that money back for sure. The Falcons, Josh. Are you just trolling me, Josh? The Falcons have to take a receiver at 8 now. No. Hell no. No. You still don't take a receiver at 8. Not with this team. I've got a link of why on allfalcons.com saying why it still doesn't make any sense. I said, this is with Calvin Ridley gone. This is with Russell Gage. They've only got 1 guy under contract that has caught a pass for the Atlanta Falcons. But you still don't take a receiver at 8 because you just had 25 receivers run 4.4s. You just had 25 guys that you can come in and bring later on. This is a draft where you hit your defensive line. Go Jordan Davis. That would be for me a reach if you wanted a position. You're like, I don't know if a nose guard defensive tackle makes that much sense. I could make a pretty good case for Jordan Davis at 8. Get your edge. Get a premium corner. Guys that are 6'1", 6'2", running 4.4s, they're a dime a dozen. I can get a bunch of those guys later on in the draft. Do I necessarily get a Jamar Chase out of that? No, but is Jamar Chase in this draft? I don't know. If he was, maybe you could talk me into getting him at 8, but no, Josh, no. I'm still vehemently against a number 8 pick on the wide receiver just because your offensive and defensive lines are so bad that it's a waste. It's a waste pick for a year because you can't get him the ball because and you can't stop anybody still. We watched Dean Pease try and get the defense done with smoke and mirrors last season. And, with the talent they had, drop Jordan Davis in the middle of that line, extend Grady Jarrett, who's going to be the happiest guy other than Jordan Davis, his agent, his mom and dad, is Grady Jarrett. If you put Jordan Davis next to him, a line wrecker next to the quickness of Grady Jarrett in a 3-4. Now I'm getting real interested. Maybe Marlon Davis and then comes up and steps up a little bit. Maybe you pick up a mid-level guy in free agency. Now my edge guys have a little bit more room to work. So no way for me on a wide receiver. Lake Erie Walleye connection. So guy messes with 22 women and still able to play. Not my commissioner. Again, there's things that look, and I think most of us would say we've seen worse than someone betting on a football game and get to play. Battery, assault, theft, name it. Then, hey, I just put $100 down on my local bookie. What's the big deal? The big deal is you cannot. It is absolutely forbidden in sports. And to be fair, Deshaun Watson hasn't played again since that came out. To be fair on that one, Deshaun Watson has not played again since those allegations came out. Winston Franklin Allen says, release him and make sure the Atlanta org has safeguards in place. You won't have to release him because you're not paying him right now. You retain the rights to him if he were to be back, and then you could probably cut him. But you won't have to right now. He's in the hands of the NFL, and you get his salary back while he's suspended like that in order to reinvest back into the team. And there's the quote, John Boy, I was looking for. It was idle hands of the devil's playground. I'm a huge Lucifer fan. I don't know if any of y'all watched it. But again, one of the reasons I like going back to the addiction and sobriety and accountability is Lucifer makes us all accountable. It's like, it's not my fault. I'm just here. I'm just here to punish the bad behavior. You are the one that behaved badly. I'm like, yeah, I can deal with that. I like personal accountability. But if any of y'all ever seen the show Lucifer, I really, really like it. Yeah, and Kevin says 11 million back in the cap. Joe Watson's that guy. Dylan, appreciate you being here. Appreciate you coming in and helping us out here all the time with the support. Michael coming in. Why was he suspended? I missed all this. To recap, we're about 15 minutes in. We'll go maybe another few minutes depending on how the chat goes. I just thought it was important. I was like, you know what? Instead of writing some more of this stuff down, I want to put some feeling into it. I want to go live and put it into a video and discuss it with some of y'all. So I appreciate you being here. But Calvin Ridley was suspended all of 22 for gambling on NFL games after he had left the team. So he wasn't allegedly he's not being accused of gambling on NFL games before he left the team, but after he left the team for the second and final time on Halloween, October 31st, 2021, the day of the Carolina Panthers game. And you could tell that pissed off Arthur Smith. You could see it in his voice and his tone. He was mad that he was left hanging by Calvin Ridley that day. And he has been suspended by Roger Goodell and the NFL. Oh, that's what I wanted to touch on too. And evidently the Falcons were first made, they said this in a statement, were first made aware of this on February 9th. So this investigation and the thought that this was coming down has been going on for about a month. And Adam Schefter put on Twitter that the Falcons had received trade offer calls, but they wouldn't entertain them. They're like, we're not going to talk about any trade right now and they didn't say why. They're just like, we're not ready, whatever. They didn't say a word. So no one said a word about this. They kept it under wraps, but they would not entertain the hopes, thoughts, and dreams of trading Calvin Ridley because they knew this was coming for the last month. So I think that's, they did the right thing. And good for them. Good for them on that. EJ says, which free agent receiver could the Falcons pick up? I don't know. There's my first one right now would probably be Russell Gage. Based on years, based on age, I was thinking that Russell Gage might be the top. I think he's 26 years old, and he had about 600 yards receiving over the last 8 games. He was really good. So we'll see after free agency hits, cuts, that types of things. There will be some guys made available. I mean, who would have thought Amari Cooper was going to be available? What's going to happen with Devontae Adams? Not that the Falcons are playing with that kind of money, but guys that we don't know. There will be good receivers become available later on in the process. Kevin Mapp says gambling is in the 10 commandments of no-nos in sports. Yeah, that's one of them. Hitting a player, that's probably another one. You're allowed to do some bad things, but you're not allowed to strike a player. And Josh Alstrom says, did you see his tweets? I saw the one, where he says, this will just make me come back healthier. And, I retweeted with my Falcons account. I'm like, just sit this one out. Just sit it out right there. Could the Falcons trade with the Cowboys for Amari Cooper? No. No, they don't have the cap room to bring in Amari Cooper. So EJ, that doesn't make sense. And again, any trade that they would have, they're not in a position where one wide receiver is going to help them. It's not going to help them this year. The Atlanta Falcons have two gaping holes on the offensive line, left guard and right tackle. Those need to be addressed. Whether Jalen Mayfield, the left guard, who was created by Pro Football Focus as the worst pass blocker in the NFL, period, regardless of position across the line, maybe he takes a big step up. He might. He's young. He's 21 years old. He had 16 starts in college. So he might. Caleb McGarry is in the last year of his rookie contract. He has been bad, and he's getting worse. So that's not going to happen either. Somebody's going to be fixed there. Sorry, I was a little distracted. I hear someone outside my door, plus the lightning that's about to come into Atlanta. So that's you look at the wide receiver position. Again, there's only one guy, Frank Darby, a 6th or 7th round pick last year, who's even got a catch, 1 for 14 yards. So you need a couple of them. Your defensive line was a disaster last year. You had Grady Jarrett, and that's it. Your front 7, Dante Fowler led the team in sacks with 4.5, and he's been cut. The next closest guy was 2. If you brought in a guy that got 11 sacks, you still would have finished last in the NFL. That's how bad the pass rush was. So bringing in a receiver this year, it doesn't help the team. It's a wasted year. You've got to start addressing some of the bigger issues, some of the fundamental footballs, blocking, tackling, and covering. If you can't do that, I don't care what kind of receiver you have. And Joe, says, does this make signing Gage more of a priority for us? I think it's been a big priority, Joe, Russell Gage, because I think you can get him for cheaper than someone else can. So if you can get a little bit of a team discount, I think it comes, and I think it is a priority. I think Foye Oluokon's a priority. I think Cordero Patterson is a priority as well. Alex Moore says we need to release him after a suspension. I could see that happening. As long as you're not forced to eat the contract, the 5th-year option, I could see that as a priority too. That he needs to be released. Joe finally says, what's Kirk's market looking like? Christian Kirk's an undersized wide receiver. He followed him a lot in high school. Good return guy, slot type receiver on the smaller side, strong. I don't know. And receivers are so well paid. If they're, even top 20, we're talking $10 million. Falcons don't have that kind of money for somebody like him. But Gage says re-sign. Gage was on $2.2 million. He's going to get 6 to 8 minimum, I think. And I'm hoping, he gets that 6 I think he showed that he can be a good number 2 guy. I believe that. I was kind of dogging on him as being a 3rd at best, a wide receiver 3, but I think he can be a 3. If you got Kyle Pitts, a number 1, and then Gage, okay, I'm okay with that. So on that note, if y'all have any more questions, like I said, I just wanted to kind of come in here and give y'all some of my thoughts on this. And let me recap on this. 1, Russell Gage was suspended. Calvin Ridley was suspended for the season for gambling on the NFL games after he had left the team. Listen to that whole sentence. After he had left the team, he was suspended for gambling on games. Does that sound as stupid to you as it does to me when I hear it? Good Lord, man. Oh, it's disappointing. So my gut reaction is disappointment. I'm a little disgusted, a little bit. Number 2 is, while we respect mental health and those who are going through problems, it's not a free pass. It's just not. I'm not going to pile on for saying, oh, he didn't have problems. He might have. He obviously still does. If you're making decisions like that, you still have a problem. You're still having problems. But it's not just a free pass where we can say, oh, we've got to respect his decision and let him go get better. No. If I'm an employer and I'm paying you $11 million that he was about to get next year, I have a right to know exactly what's going on. And it's not just a free pass. And finally, the Falcons should be able to get his $11 million back and reinvest it back into the team, which is a good thing. And I was, again, like I said, the Falcons knew about this since February 9th, and they've been making plans to go around it. Do I think they'll take a receiver at 8? No, I don't. If they can find a trade suitor, and if they can maybe move back a little bit farther and pick up a number, move back to like 20 for the Steelers and pick up another 2 and a 3, use those on receivers. After 8, I'm okay with a receiver, but I don't want a receiver at 8. No way. This team has way, way too many holes. And EJ says Calvin Ridley's career may be over. Seems like he has a lot of issues. And I put the same thing. One of the questions had been, has always been, okay, where's he going to be? Is he going to come back to the Falcons this year? No. I said that early November with 8 games left on the schedule. No, he's not coming back. Was he coming back to the Falcons? No. I've said that. No. I've said that he's not coming back to the Falcons. What can the Falcons get for him? Well, now the market's gotten real slim because you don't know if he's coming back at all. You don't know if he's coming back at all. So on that note, Cedric Joe, it says that you were blocked. I may have been trying to go after somebody else. If you were a legit watcher and I blocked you on accident, hit me up at skinnity@gmail.com or direct DM me at Twitter at Scout Kennedy. It's a little tough to do these when you're doing them by yourself, but I appreciate everybody stopping in. I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit tonight on Mile High Huddle on the Huddle Up pod with Zach and Chad, and hell, they may even bring me in a little bit to talk about this because this is big news. This is big news. So on that note, again, thanks for coming in. It's always interesting being a fan of an Atlanta sports team, especially these Atlanta Falcons. And for those of you that have done it for years, God bless you. It takes it's the old Offspring song. The more we suffer, the more it shows we really care. Well, we've done some suffering. Now it's time to bounce back a little bit. So, they say rise up. On that note, thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate you checking in, and we'll see you tonight and tomorrow morning on Broncos for Breakfast. I'm sure Nick and I will get into this a little bit more tomorrow.